was the blind spot on this, Walid? I mean, we have talked about this now for years, and Nina Shea has sat on this program, and so many people who were part of the entire religious freedom, the President's religious freedom panel at the State Department, they have been ringing, Leonard Leo and others, ringing this alarm all these years. The Bush administration turned a deaf ear to it, and this administration is doing the same. Why?
See, under the Bush administration, you had a good narrative on the top. We all heard and saw the speeches.
Right.
You know, they were clear on the issue. On the lower level of the NGOs, meaning the Christian Middle Eastern Americans and others, and the think tanks, they've done their job as much as they could. It is in the middle. The bureaucracy under the Bush administration is the same as today, as the same as 20 years ago. The bureaucracy basically caters to the influence of petrodollars. It has not really changed. So we need to have a change actually inside our bureaucracy so that a new generation of researchers, of analysts would understand the issue and then help the administration to work on this issue.
The Pope this week condemned, obviously, all of these attacks on Christians. He called it a strategy of violence. Is that a correct interpretation?
Actually, he used the absolute right word in terms of strategy. I used to call it the jihadi strategy, obviously, meaning what we are seeing is not just an incident or an accident. Or
these are not isolated incidents.
No, this is a web, strategic web, which is very clear to see. You have the ideology, then you have the strategies, and then you have the various organizations, and you can even see the way the Salafists of Al-Qaeda, Taliban, and others are operating, and then the Iranians just gave us examples. But these are two different species, and yet they are concentrating, converging on ethnic cleansing the Christians out of the Middle East.
Where is this administration? Have they done enough? And what are you hearing from those officials in the State Department at this time?
Well, first of all, the President went to Cairo and, delivered that speech. And in that speech, he mentioned the Copts, and he mentioned the Maronites of Lebanon. But at the same time, he did not mention where's the threat coming from. He did not mention the jihadists. His experts on terrorism in this administration issued a memo. Remember, last year, a memo saying, we do not treat it as a war on terror. This is not an ideology. We don't even use the terms of jihad and Islamism, and Salafism, and Khomainism. So how do you want the analysts in government to be able to figure out what it is?
Yeah. As everybody's a brother and sister. Well, then you can't distinguish.
If you don't have a doctrine, you can't have a policy. That's the issue.
Let's go to the phones again. Lila, you're on the phones from New York. Where are you calling?
Yes.
Tell me your background. What's your question?
Well, first, my background, I'm a Lebanese American, born in Egypt. And I wanted to thank you. And I am not only going to buy one book, I am going to buy several books and send them to my family and to other Christians. My background, we are Melkites, born in Egypt, of Lebanese heritage. And of course, we left in the 50s like many Christians because our parents were, obviously there was persecution, underhanded. I think Mr. Phares is describing it very well. He's right on the however you say it. He hits it. I mean, he's really, it's perfect.
What is your question?
So I don't have to talk.
No, you just wanted to make a comment. Well,
I would like to say thank you, and I'm not only going to buy one book, I'm going to buy many books, but I also want to know what can we do as Eastern Rite besides prayer, besides attending our churches, besides, by the way, my name spells L-E-I-L-A, besides, what can we concretely do?
Okay, go ahead, Walid.
You could do a lot, Layla, and I know that you are someone who knows the issue. Your family came from there, you know the languages. What you can do, first of all, is in your own community, in the church, is to mobilize for this issue, to form a special task force, even at a very small local level, and then interact with other communities in Detroit, in Chicago, in Los Angeles. And because we have internet, you can even interact with Christian communities in the Middle East. That is the most important thing to do. And then, of course, influence the press, the local media, appear more and write to your legislators. We have a Congress today, more than any other day, who could be very sympathetic and solidarity with the issue.
That was going to be my next question. What are you hearing from this Congress? How receptive are they to the things you've been saying and reporting?
Well, we know many of the names who are in this Congress, who have been in the past, seniors, veterans of the struggle for freedom for everybody in the Middle East, and specifically for the weakest, that would be the Christian minorities. They are going to be having positions of leadership. We hope that the communities are crucial. What Layla has said is very important. If you don't have witnesses witnesses, you can't carry action. Look what happened with every other different ethnic communities. Because they were organized, the legislators will help you, and both of you could be working with the administration, with this administration or with the next administration.
Interesting. What do you make of this situation in the Philippines, where this bomb went off? I mean, there's also a struggle that isn't often reported with this Muslim minority that is there increasingly growing and inflicting its will upon the Christians there.
Not that different from the other, I call them the battlefields of jihadists in South Asia, in the sense that you have the southern Muslim community in the Philippines and Mindanao, but then within that community, still the same game. You have those jihadists, Salafi, Takfiri, you have the Abu Sayyaf faction, which is the representative of Al-Qaeda in a sense, and you have larger militias all together are working to do two things. Number one, to seize the community in the south. Number two, to intimidate and ethnic cleanse the Christians from the south into the north, and to coordinate. Actually, you may see some of those working with Al-Qaeda in other battlefields, in other places around the world. So that's another battlefield.
I want to go to the phones again. Peter from New Jersey, you're on the World Over Live. What's your question, Pete?
Hi. My question is to the gentleman. I'm an Italian-American, devout Catholic, but my wife is Syrian, and she's also devout Catholic, but a Syrian who was born in the United States. What is the threat to Syrian Catholics in Syria? I'll hang up and I'll enjoy your response. God bless both of you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Walid?
Well, Syria is ruled by a Ba'athist regime, and the Ba'athist regime oppresses all Syrians, not just the Christians. But if you ask the Syria Christians, including Catholics and Orthodox, they will tell you that the first victim of this oppression has been the language. I mean, the Christians of Syria used to speak the language of Jesus, Aramaic. That's what the Arabists of the Baathists have been eliminating. And of course, you would see a lot of those activist Christian Syrians in the jails of the Ba'ath regime.
So sad. Dr. Phares, thank you as always. Enlightening and interesting. Dr. Walid Phares' new book, The Coming Revolution, Struggle for Freedom in the Middle East, is available online and at bookstores everywhere. It's a great book and really an interesting read about the future and what's coming.